Profit, and I have an ethical responsibility to bring today's show to you. So this could be possibly one of the most important messages that especially small businesses can hear. I hope that I can effectively communicate it out to you because this is important. I'm in Baltimore right now, so this is a remote stream, not the typical bells and whistles. I'm sitting, which just drives me nuts because I like to move. But anyhow, I'm in Baltimore because we just got done with the largest trade show that we do in over the course of a year, the Baltimore Tow Show, which is, in Baltimore. And it's this giant, takes up the entire convention center, $1 million trucks all over the place, just thousands and thousands of people. And yes, it's all around the towing industry, which we own towing.com, so we represent pretty well there and provide the front door to the industry through towing.com. And as you may have saw on Twitter, we launched this big new feature. And the big new feature was we're giving our members on towing.com a free website. All they had to do is point their domain name to this site, and voila, they have something extremely valuable. And as we were talking to people, and I kind of knew this, I knew this going in, so it wasn't a complete surprise. But as we were talking to towing companies, we would tell them about this great website. It's like, okay, all we got to do is point your domain name to this website. We were met frequently by what is a domain name? And that question, what is a domain name, coming out of the mouth of a small business or any business owner is something that it's extremely important that we clear up what a domain name is and how to turn it in to likely the most valuable asset that any company can have. Does that sound like worth knowing? Like how to turn your domain name into the most valuable asset your company owns. That's what we're after, and that's something that's missing, it seems, from communication out there. And we're going to talk about it because this is what we do here on Domain to Profit, is how to turn this domain name into profit. Yes, we will get to some expiring domain names like we do each week as well, but this important message is something going to be communicated first. So welcome to Domain to Profit. If you haven't already, make sure you say hi in the chat along with all those that I already see popping in. I'm glad you're here. I hope I can just really bring some important value to you. Let's get going.
From domain to profit, from a .com to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Walsh and get started right now.
Okay. CL Couch coming in. Yeah, I'm hoping I can show how to turn a domain name into a valuable asset. I think I have some good stuff here, but realistically, I'm dumping it out. It's not curated well, but I believe I can do a reasonable enough job. And I hope that you in the live community out there will also ask some questions, help keep me on track to get the important information from here out to you. So ask questions if something gets confusing. And hello, Ian, as well. Matt, nice to see you popping in. I think I was on time, so that's good. Matt keeps me on time. Ed, what's going on, Ed? Hey, Miller. And Jeffrey, nice to see you here as well. Happy Monday. And it is always a happy Monday. I always enjoy my Mondays. I enjoy working, and it's really hard for me to actually take a day off a lot of times. So, I am here, 2 laptops up. Every light in the house that I'm in right now is around me, trying to create a reasonable view for you. Hopefully audio works well and everything else, because like I said, we have something really important to talk to today, and that is about how turning your domain name. This could be any domain name, okay? You know me as a .com guy. I love .com, but this could be any domain name. We see this rather frequently that domain names will sell at auction. So if you are like me, you're an insider to the domain world, you see domain names sell somewhat frequently for tens of thousands of dollars, even $100,000 or $200,000 that are on .org, .io, just weird domain names, sometimes with hyphens. And we think, how did this domain name become so valuable? How did a garbage domain name, something that Drew would pass up every single Monday, how would that domain name sell for so much money? Would you like to know that? Would you like to know what turns a $10 hand registration domain name into something that could sell for tens of thousands of dollars? Well, that's what we are going to talk about today. And it's something that is missed by so many small businesses that it breaks my heart a little bit, actually quite a bit. It breaks my heart that small businesses have been left behind from this one idea that a domain name is your internet asset. It is your internet lifeblood. It is where you can accumulate value that is true value, something you can actually sell for money, something that is more than just a way to find your company on the internet, right? Because that's what a domain name is. In a practical sense, you might have come here seeing, hey, what is a domain name? You might have expected to hear me just say a domain name is a way to get to your website. No, it's so much more than that. A domain name is something you own. You own your domain name, and that right there is why we do this show each Monday. These are domain names that we look at each week that you can own. Put them in your back pocket, put them in your front pocket, put them in a safe in your living room, wherever you have your safe. Keep it locked up, use it, but it is yours. You own the thing, and you can treat it like a $10 hand registration domain name and never do anything with it, or you can treat it like the valuable asset it is and build on it. So let me come up. I love the ominous uplighting. Is do what you're supposed to with the domain name. Okay. So let me, okay, excellent. So I want to pull up this here, which is something that we talk about almost every single, we talk about this often. And this is how I describe a domain name. And essentially what this is showing is the gray box is the domain name. So at the top, you got the foundation. So like, let me see, right here, like, the domain name is the foundation, and you can build anything you want to on that foundation. And of course, if the domain name's good enough, you can buy it low, sell it high. But we don't talk about the building up enough. Like, it's just kind of something I pass off. There's an assumption that's made there that I think is doing you a disservice for not talking about it more. It's a disservice for not talking about how you can take any domain name and create value on it, and how it holds value. So what we do on Domain to Profit each week, we look for domain names that have a lot of value already part of that domain name under the ground. So that's that gray box below. So this idea of authority, validation, access to an industry. So this is a towing.com type domain name, this gray box. When your domain name is not just surface level, it is deep. There's something that is given to you by that domain name. Towing.com matters to the towing industry. Now, why is that? How does it get the authority, the validation, the access to the industry? And can you build those things on any other domain name? And the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. You can build that authority, the validation, the access to the industry on any domain name. It's just a lot of work. But that's what we're going to look at a little bit. We're going to look at those metrics, those key pieces of how you can take any domain name. I don't care what garbage you have in your portfolio that you've been holding on to, that you probably should have let drop forever ago. we are going to look at how you can take that and do something with it that matters. And it's likely much easier. Well, not easier. It's much more simple than what you might think. So let me check out the chat as I'm running through this just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Peachland Taxi is sharing about a directory. We can possibly talk about that a little bit. Okay. So keep this in mind here, and we're going to be talking about that area above the domain name. What you can build on the domain name is going to be a lot of what we talk about today. And we're going to look at these domain names that are expiring as well to do that. So what I want to do, other than get my bearings for one moment, is I want to kind of paint this picture in your head of how a domain name, like what a domain name is. And I encourage you to kind of think of it this way. Think of it as a bucket. And over time, you are adding to that bucket. You build some little feature, you try something new, maybe you add a blog post, you build a directory. All these things are bucket adding activities. They are adding stuff to your website. They're adding value. The hope is that they're adding value. So what happens with a lot of small businesses? They just think of their domain name in their website as a brochure. It's not something that really matters. They put some information out there and just forget about it. Right? They added the value just a little bit, and then they forgot about their domain name in their website, and they don't treat it like something of value. They don't continue to add value to that domain name. Because here's the beauty about that bucket, okay? And here's why I think a bucket is a good metaphor for it. When you're adding to it, yeah, some may splash out. Who knows? Maybe you have a rusty bucket and some leaks out. But overall, a bucket retains value. And that value can be measured, and that value can be shown and transacted upon. So you can say, hey, here's my domain name, here's the value it has, here's how you can measure it, and here's what I'm willing to sell it for. Like there's some logic there. It's not just some made up number. It is something that you can actually show. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Some of the measurements that we can use, and then how to build them. So first of all, I just want to kind of back up a little bit and just say, many of the small businesses we talked to while I was here in Baltimore, where we are after the trade show, they understand the value of a phone number. Okay, a local business, if you're just a web person, maybe you've never ran a local business, bear with me as I kind of give this example. Hopefully you can get it. But for a towing company, a phone number is the lifeblood, the lifeline between them and their customer. The phone number has been used in phone book ads, it's been put on their business cards, yes, on their website, their Google listing. They've been using this phone number, and it's been really important for maybe decades. So what happens in the towing industry and in other local businesses, local industries, is at the end of the life of that business, when the owner is kind of like ready to retire, they will often sell off their trucks, possibly sell off their entire business, but a lot of times they sell it off in pieces. They sell the trucks to somebody, they maybe sell some equipment and so on, and then they sell off the phone number. This is towing specific, but it can work in a lot of other local industries. They sell that phone number because over the course of years, customers have learned that when they call that phone number, they get a towing company. This phone number equals towing company. So all those magnets they've passed out over the years, business cards, everything they've ever done to build their brand kind of boils down to a phone number. And that phone number, towers they frequently share it around and sell it off. So what hasn't happened in small businesses, though, is this principle of what they've done with the phone number, this idea that the phone number can increase in value because it's how, like, this phone number is associated with getting a towing company in the towing industry. They've not taken the same logic of understanding of what a phone number that has been built on for possibly decades, and they've not applied that over to the internet. Well, how do you apply that? How do you do that on the internet? Well, that is where a domain name comes in. A domain name to a small business is the foundation of their internet presence. Owning the same domain name and building on it and keeping it active for years is a way to turn that domain name. If nothing else, that domain name is as valuable as the phone number. And I will tell you that from this last week, many small businesses out there, they don't understand the value of a domain name. Hell, they barely even understand what domain name is. I think this is the failing of many of us out there, especially some of the largest registrars in the world. They've not shared the importance of a domain name. They've just tried to sell a domain name so they can sell a website, when in fact, a domain name is what you build on forever. It's your internet brand as long as you are in that industry, and you should have a website for whatever topic you're doing. So let me get on track, make sure I am pulling this down. So let's talk about some of the measurements. So this is how we're going to get to the content. I want to actually show you how you can measure the value of a domain name in theoretical numbers, and then you get to assign the value as you see fit. So I want to go out to a tool that we don't really use very often, but we are going to today. We used to use it often, which is this here, which is semrush.com. SEMrush, hopefully you can see that show up here. And SEMrush is similar to the tool that we use often here, SpyFu. We used to use SEMrush a lot more frequently. Yeah, it's not going to show up all that well, but semrush.com. And one of the reasons I want to use SEMrush today for this topic specifically is because this right here, the authority score. The authority score. Now, you probably know me enough through, if you watch week to week, to know that I cannot stand like Google, right? I'm an anti-big business person. But a lot of what we're going to talk about today is kind of Google-based, because Google gives us the way to see the growth of a domain name, a way to see the added value that happens on a domain name. So if you were to go out right now and register any domain name you wanted, that domain name would be worth about $10. Probably not even that. Realistically, as of the point that you register it, it's worth $10 to you. You paid it, but no one else is probably going to be willing to pay anything for it. So now you have this chore of putting something on it, adding content. Now, why would you do that? What's the purpose of it? Well, the purpose of it is to hopefully show up in Google, hopefully bring value to anyone you share that domain name with. And that value a lot of times is measured in this here, which is the authority score. Authority score is a calculated number on SEMrush that is based on the number of links, relevant links especially, that are coming into that domain name, the amount of people that see the result in the search engines and then click on it. There's all kinds of different calculations that go into this theoretical number of authority score. But what I can tell you about this score is it starts off as 0, and then you build it over time. And it actually doesn't lose authority very quickly. Like, as you build it, it kind of keeps it for a very long time. And authority score can be called many other things in many other industries or on other sites. I've seen it, I've referred to it as search engine juice. I've referred to it as domain ranking or domain relevance. There's all kinds of different labels you can apply to it, but basically it is the measurement of a domain name as it grows, the importance and value of the domain name. Other ways you can measure it. So let me just summarize. One of the metrics that you can use to tell how valuable your domain may be is the idea of an authority score, a domain ranking, or in some way that search engine juice. Like, this is a score. It does not guarantee traffic. It doesn't guarantee much other than it's a score that says this domain name matters to others because they've linked to it, they've used it, they've clicked on it, there's content there. I hope that isn't met. I hope you understand that because that is really important to understand that, like, there is a measurement. There's measurements out there. Now, this is ultimately a fictional score, kind of like when we look at expiring domains here in a little bit. The valuation is not really a score that tells you the value of a domain name. The valuation is instead something that helps us bring the most valuable ones to the top. Make sense? So think of an authority score or a domain ranking. Think of it in that way. It's not that it is actually like authoritative at that level. It's just a way of ranking domain names and websites on a scale. The bigger the number, the more authority it has. In this case, on the example I have over here, Tony.com's authority score over on SEMrush is 44, which is pretty good. Let me type in a domain name that likely has a much lower score. Let me go with toes.com, which doesn't really have much on it. And you'll see it has 6. So between 0 and 44, 0 and 100, one of our sites has 6, one of them has 44. So if we put more time and effort into toes.com, it will increase. For the same reason the value of a phone number might increase, the time in the use of that phone number over time is what is going to really impact the value of a phone number to a small business. So that I hope you're with me so far. What I want to show you, though, I want to move past the authority score and talk about one other piece and really what's behind this. What is behind the authority score? What is behind the value that's created from it? And as I mentioned, many people sell domains, tens of thousands of dollars, even 6-figure domain names, 100% based on the search engine juice, this domain authority piece. But behind it is something that is way more normal business. It doesn't require you to think of it in some Google perspective. It is the idea of the traffic and the content, the purpose of that traffic. Or, as I would tell my entrepreneurship students that I teach on Mondays, most weeks, I would refer to it as a market. Your job with any domain name is to not just get some high-ranking domain relevant authority score. It is to build a market. Okay? So you can take any domain name you want to, some garbage domain name, and as you build on it, it is important that you're building on it for a specific audience. And if you build on a domain name targeting a specific audience over years or even decades, that domain name, regardless of the domain name, will have a market. So even if it's just 100 people coming to it, you as a domain to profit viewer, the 150 weekly viewers that we have that come week after week, you are a market. You're an audience that looks for domain related business website information, right? You're very specific. You're like me. You're just really precise niche. You want to learn how to take a domain name, a specific kind of domain name, and turn it into a business, right? There's not many of us out there. I don't ever expect this show to be watched by thousands of people. I expect it just to be watched by you, the people that really matter to the topic that matters to me. Now, you, to me, are a very valuable audience. And if I ever wanted to launch a product, which I plan on doing at some point, if I ever want to launch a product that helps people take a domain name and turn it into a business, there's no better place to go to talk about that product than right here on this show. To the 150 people that understand that domain names are valuable and they can be built into businesses. Boom. We have a product that helps you do this. Doesn't that sound like a good product for you? And the answer will be, hell yeah, it does, because you are a market and an audience related to this topic. So you have to choose who your audience is going to be for whatever domain name you do. Now, what we talk about as we look through expiring domain names, which I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, which is expiringdomains.net, the site that we use each week to look over expiring domains. As we look at this site each week, we talk a lot about domain names that already have kind of an audience inherent to them. That's kind of a shortcut that a great domain name allows you to take. Towing.com has an audience already built into it, that access to the industry piece. I can go into that convention that I just was in, just as we have since 2007. I can show up there and be like, hey, I'm Towing.com. And people somehow think and know instinctively, just by the domain name, that we matter to their industry. If you don't have a great, so that's what we look for on expired domains. That's what we do here each week on Domain to Profit, is we are trying to let you skip some of the steps. If you find the right domain name, you can skip some of the steps and have access to that market, right? You can build that market on any different website that you have, but a market is nonetheless needed. If you ever want to make money in anything you do, you have to have a market. Who is your customer? Who is your audience? Who are the people that when you offer something, they go, oh, I have to have that in my life. Okay, so that, if you can create that, whether it's 10 people that truly love something, 100 people, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, if you can create a place that they've learned to go to for some topic, develop it. It's going to be a site for domain names that are perfect for development. Towing.com, it's where you go to find local towing companies. We have turned down offers for millions of dollars for that business that is just a domain name doing exactly what it is meant to be. That domain name is just a domain name showing towing companies. All we are doing is just giving them the audience what they expect on that domain name. You can build that on any domain name you want. I hope that is clear. We are taking shortcuts here with expired domains. We are able to skip over that whole figuring out what the audience is. We let the domain name decide the audience. We let the domain name decide the topic of the website. That's a huge burden relieved from you, but you can do this on any domain name you want. Now, if you're a local company, you can get your company name or something similar and build on it to where that domain name is valuable, to where when you want to exit your company, now you take your domain name, you can sell your phone number, you can sell your domain name for probably more than your trucks if you do it well enough. Okay. So it's an investment into your internet life. Fill your bucket, fill your domain name is what we're out to do. I hope that you'll give me some feedback on if that makes sense. We are truly filling the bucket. That's all you're doing. You're adding value for your market, adding value. In the towing industry, I'm adding value for people looking for a towing company in this specific industry or in this specific location. And now they've learned that they can go here for a towing company. They don't have to go a bunch of different routes. They can go here. Google learns as well. They learn that this website, this domain name is related to this topic, and now that asset can be passed around, and that's why people pay so much money for it. And actually, we'll probably see some here in a moment over on expireddomains.net. So here we go. I am over on expireddomains.net. I am going to shrink myself And so here we are, expireddomains.net, and I am going up to my saved search to pull up the GoDaddy expiring domain names. If you go to expireddomains.net, you can sign up for a free account and set up the filters, which we are looking at .com only domain names, English words, 1 to 3 words max, over the expiring or auctions ending in the next 8 days. We get rid of hyphens, get rid of numbers, and we really are just looking for those domain names that give us a shortcut to an industry. They give us a shortcut to a market. They give us a shortcut to an audience. We don't have to go through the painstaking process of defining, for example, Edge Sports. Has something to do with sports, but what the heck does it mean? Well, that would be up for us to define through the development and marketing of that domain name, or we could just get a domain name that is exactly already described as the audience. Okay. So what I want to do is now that we have our filter set up, I am clicking on valuation, and you will see the valuation come to the top. But what I want to take a brief moment to do is I want to click over on price. I'm going to click on it again. And what this is doing is it's bringing all the domain names that have the most value, the most money already being spent on them. So let me bring me up a little bit here. I want to be clear on this. It's always weird working with different systems. But so what we're going to look at just briefly is something that's going to illustrate the point that I just told you, okay? That you can turn any domain name into being worth thousands of dollars. This is we can prove this every single week, week in and week out, just by pulling up our list of domain names and ordering by the price being paid. Yes, in most cases, the domain names on the top are the best domain names, but look at this. I think you'll find that it's not the case this week. So, man, I really wish I can get that to line up, but it's not, so I got to go small again. Okay, so over here, look at these top domains. So as of right now, we are ordered by the domain names that currently have the highest bids. Does that make sense? Domain names that have the highest bids. Maybe if I do this and make this window. No, that's not going to work, is it? Okay, let's see if I can get this to fit in here. Sorry for playing while I'm live, but it's kind of what I do. Okay, there we go. So essentially, look at this mediated matter group, whatever the hell that is, right? That's the most that's the most expensive bid right now in all the domain names we're looking at. Mediated? Is that, I don't even know what that word is. Mediated matter group. Horrible domain name. That domain name is garbage and would be skipped over every single week on our show. But look, let's look at this. So we're taking that line. I'm just scrolling over. That domain name right now, valued, mediated, whatever group, matter group, or whatever the hell it was. The valuation's $293 over on GoDaddy. That's basically GoDaddy's way of saying, yeah, we don't know why they registered this in the first place. But look at what somebody's already bidding. 72 bids, $6,000 for this domain name. The one underneath it, $5,000, $4,500. Well, this one at least is kind of scored high. Look at the $851 for this one here. Let's go out. Hilden Brewing. So what happened here? HildenBrewing.com. Somebody out there probably bought that domain name. They ran a business on it. They had this passionate hobby about brewing alcohol or whatever it is they were brewing. They posted on it. They loved what they were doing. And people knew to go to HildenBrewing.com for whatever it is that they were doing. That value was all packaged up in that domain name. It was all pulled together, balled up in that domain name. And here's the unfortunate piece. Hilden Brewing, whoever owned that, they had no idea that their domain name was worth $6,000 or $5,000, whatever. They didn't realize that there was so much value tied into that digital asset that they owned, that should have been locked up, that they should have been in control. So we, as domain investors, we see that and go, oh, we want to buy that whatever it is that brand. We want to buy that juice that they've already built. Well, I'm saying, like, we get the opportunity to buy it because, unfortunately, the world doesn't know how valuable their domain names can be. So, okay. So you can see these are the top domain names that have the highest bids right now over on GoDaddy Auctions. New Beginning, I don't mind that domain name. That one's not bad. But for the most part, these other domain names are garbage. They are getting these high bids because somebody has done something with it in the past that grabbed and built value, and now that value is being monetized in the marketplace, and the old owners had no clue. They didn't even realize how valuable their domain was. So, man, I just want to stay on this thought because I just want to get it until it's so damn clear we get it. So we are showing that a domain name, any domain name out there, it's worth something if you put the time into it. And we are essentially vampiring the value that somebody built into their domain name because they don't realize the domain name actually had value. I want to go back to the future. Let's go back to the future. Let's go back to the past to where these small businesses understand at the beginning of the process that they are buying. And let me just talk to you directly, small business. You are buying a domain name that you are going to build your internet future on. This is a domain name that everything you ever post to it, it's going to hold the value that your company has on the internet forever. Make a good choice, buy the right domain name, take care of it, and for the love of goodness, don't let it expire and don't let somebody else have control over it. Don't treat it like the valuable asset it is. Look at this. Some of these companies that were out here are losing a domain name that's as valuable as a used car, right? They've let somebody steal their car. They didn't realize that it was so valuable. And I'm here to tell you, your domain name either is valuable or it can be valuable if you use it for the sake of your business. Know it, small business. Know that your domain name is important to you. And here's why it's important for you to know it's important. Because it is common practice for marketing companies to take control of your domain name, and they build a website for you. Maybe you've experienced this. Give me a hand up in the chat if you have. A marketing company, you hire a web development company, and they register the domain name for you. They build a website for you, and that's great. And you're like, yeah, that was awesome. Love my website. And something happens, and you're tired of that website company, and you go to, maybe they even go out of business. Something happens to your website. Next thing you know, how do I get, you're asking, how do I get control of my domain name? I want to point it to a new website, or I want to do, and you have no clue how to take control over this valuable asset that you have, this domain name. You have to understand from the get-go the value of that domain name, or the value of the domain name will have in the future, and have control of the domain name. So what we did with towing.com is we were hoping that we would be able to explain to towers, hey, you need to have a domain name. You're going to point your domain name to this system, because we wanted to explain to them and teach them the importance of a domain name. We thought it would be easy. And unfortunately, we're the first people to ever tell a lot of these small businesses that the domain name you use is really freaking important. The domain name you use and that you're building your entire internet presence on is everything to your company. And many of the companies we were talking to were like, oh, we used to have a website, but I think it expired or something. They don't realize it. And you can maybe say, okay, so maybe they should have known. Maybe they should have known or studied more or whatever else. And I say that is just not true. I mean, that's easy for us as domain people to say, but if they're out there towing, for example, the industry that we work in a lot, lives depend on them being a good tower, on knowing how to balance and move a vehicle, the weight distribution. If they don't do a good job towing, people die. Okay, I want them studying how to be the best tower, not how to manage their domain name or whatnot. And well, unfortunately, many web companies out there are predatory, or I don't know. I want to think that people don't have bad intent. Ultimately, the value of that domain name doesn't go to the small business. The small business just needs help, and they're not getting it from the other small businesses that are helping them right now. So it's a problem we have to figure out. But this message of owning and controlling, just understanding a domain name, that asset, is as important as maybe understanding stock that you might have in your 401k, or understanding your 401k. Like so many people are like, I know we have a 401k somewhere, but I don't know how to get to it, or I don't know. Like, that's kind of dangerous, right? Like, that's a scary idea. Like, oh, I have some $50,000 in a 401k somewhere, but I really don't know how to access it or use it. Like, that's essentially what's happening with domain names. Okay, my goodness gracious. Let me get back to some domain names. Let's see what we can find here. Yeah, and this is, so let me pull up Only an Acre saying, in the early 2000s, we registered domain names for clients and always transferred all rights to them free of charge. I'm not sure what necessarily we're going to do with ours, but I believe we're deciding that we are going to register domain names for them. I don't want to, though. It's kind of like, anyhow, I feel like we are taking ownership, even temporarily, of something that is really important to them. It'd be kind of like, hey, give me the title for your land because we're going to build a business on it, or something like that. Like, no, you wouldn't give over the title. You would just sign an agreement or something to build on it. Yeah. Anyhow, let me pull up Fred's comment. And then presumably expired, and then when used in direct traffic to a casino site until current expiration, 6,000 seems irrational for the domain name unless it's the brand. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times these are irrational. So what people are doing with these domain names, if you're not familiar with it, they're buying them. They're buying the market. So remember, one of the KPIs, one of the measurements we can use on a domain name that we can build over time is that audience, that traffic around a topic. The traffic to your website that is around a topic is an audience and a market. Now, if you have an audience of people or of towing companies, now anybody trying to reach an audience of towing companies can market to them and sell to them. I have no idea what Mediated Matter Group is, but somebody out there does. They know that is an audience that they want to be able to reach. Therefore, they buy the domain name. They redirect it to their existing web business that has a similar audience or marketing, and voila, they hope to, well, in some cases, they'll make their money back quickly. Not sure how, whatever this international airport web domain, not sure how that's going to work, but it's not my thing. So now we are going to go back over. Let me scroll over here. I'm going to order by valuation, and we are going to spend just a little bit of time seeing if we can bypass everything we've been talking about. And we bypass this idea of defining and building an audience by buying a domain name that already has a defined audience. So like I've done with towing.com or photobooths.com. What do you expect to find on photobooths.com? Well, probably small businesses that rent photo booths or sell photo booths. Who knows? Anything photo booth related should be on that domain name. That's what we hope to build on it. Same with all these other ones. The audience in market is already defined by the domain name. That is the shortcut. That's a shortcut I bring you each Monday here on Domain to Profit, but it's not needed. You don't need to go the shortcut way. So let me zoom in here. Okay, so now we're going to stop. We are looking at the top of the list over GoDaddy expiring domain names. So these are auctions, and you can't see it, but this top one is enom, so we are going to skip over that one. MyFinancial.com, I like it. It's going to get a click. It's going to get a click. Click, click, click. Okay, 5 days left on this auction, 1642. So what do you expect to find on myfinancial.com? I expect to be able to go to myfinancial.com and probably have a tool that shows me the status of my finances. So import maybe, I believe there was a website called mint.com, and they allowed you to integrate with all your banking accounts so you can see all your account balances in one place. I would see that on this. I would want to see that on My Financial. You go to myfinancial.com, log in, and it pulls all your financial data in one place so you can have one place to go to see your financials. So that is the shortcut that I see, and that's all I'm doing here on Domain to Profit each week is kind of connecting a domain name to the shortcut. My Financial, I could see that being there. So now we're going to go over to SpyFu, which is our typical tool. I am going to drop the .com, and you look at only the keywords. Now the shortcuts only work for .coms. Okay, that's one of the things I talk about each week. Is you have to use a .com. If you're not using .com, you're always going to wish you were using a .com. Part of the shortcut that is a premium domain name is a .com domain name. Makes sense? So you can build on any domain name you want. You can build and use a domain name as a foundation and build up the domain rank, build up the domain authority, build an audience and a market on any domain name. That's going to make it valuable. But for the sake of this shortcut of having a domain name that can turn into a business, it has to already have that audience defined, that purpose defined. And you'll see here, let's see here. Okay, looks like you can see that hopefully. My Financial Center, BYU. It looks like some companies are already using My Financial, like in terms, like I'm guessing BYU here, they use My Financial Center, like this is for their college loans or something. So people are using the phrase, but here's the kind of thing with what we try to do here. We want to see cost per click at $2 or higher, advertisers at $2 or more. That's part of that shortcut. There has to be not just a topic defined, an audience defined, but there also has to be money involved in it. If there's not money, you can buy this, develop a tool. It's just a fancier foundation to build on, but it's not really, it doesn't have rich minerals under the ground. It doesn't have oil that you can tap into. So My Financial, I like the domain name. I just, at $1,600, it's already probably up over what I would ever want to buy for it. But if you're out there looking for a great domain name in financials, there you go. New Beginning. That one almost crosses into a marketing topic. I think New Beginnings is a lot of times what people say. But New Beginning, like people look for a new beginning. They look for a fresh start, you know? So possibly something with that. Bonavita, I don't know what that is, but yeah. Max Trader. Okay, online offer. That sounds like let's go check that out, actually. I typically try to avoid the word online. It's kind of a redundant thing on the internet. $611 currently, 5 days left on the domain name. We'll keep it quick. We're going to put those keywords in here. As you can imagine, online offer, it's probably going to be offers, coupons, deals that are online only. We see a little bit of action on this. Oh, well, we see down here, cost per click is $2.10. The only thing is there's nobody paying it. There's nobody paying it. So, what's going on? Trying to cast a TV. Okay. So nobody's paying it. So even though we get the $2 or more a click, there's not really enough data here to really do much with. 44 searches. But if you're looking to do a deal website or something like that, or create a marketing campaign where you're sending out links or something to a specific offer, this would be a good domain name for you to use for that. On to the next one. There's that Edge Sport, no clue what that is. TrueCraft, Care Assistant. Care Assistant. I mean, people like especially taking care of elderly parents or special needs kids or family members. A care assistant maybe is a thing. I'm going to skip over it, although we do see here the cost per click is $146. So possibly something you may be interested in if you want to deal in privatized care or vegan care. Gym training, enom domain name, so we're going to skip over that one. Mixed company, we're going to click on that one. Mostly just because mixed company is it's what I call marketing domain name. It's a phrase that we've heard in different marketing campaigns and different conversations. Mixed company, I've heard it referred to as just a melding of the minds, different people from different backgrounds and things coming together. It's mixed company. It's almost the opposite of what we're talking about with building an audience and a market it. A mixed company would be many different markets all coming together in one place. So it's how you keep from being in, what do they call it, a echo chamber? You need to be in mixed company. Okay, 400 searches. No real cost per click. So let's see here. Mixed company, that's funny. There's a lot of people that are searching for it. Looks like for concrete here in the middle. So I'm not sure what mixed company 1974 is. Concrete mixing company. So there you go. You could go the direct, generic mixed company. Not a huge fan of it. In fact, if we go and do the Control F and go up to the top, you'll probably, okay, mixed company 1974. But what I just did was a Control F and did a find of these keywords on the domain name specifically. You'll see not really much in mixed company right there. There you go. If you can see that, that is the keyword, the phrase that I hear in conversation. There's value in having that. So now your audience for mixed company, if you went in mixed company, your audience would be people that are trying to get out of their echo chamber, trying to hear new voices or be around people that are different from themselves. They are seeking mixed company. That action, that desire that they have in themselves is your audience or market for mixed company. Going to move on. Try to get a couple more domain names in since I spent so much time ranting on the importance of building value in your domain name. I do hope it was valuable to you. Oh my goodness gracious, what did I just do here? Okay. Med reports, these are all enom domains here. Also here, I skipped over a couple. Recover your data. That's a weird domain registrar, but I'm going to click on it anyways because recover your data. Honestly, recoveryourdata.com sounds like it probably has been used. I don't know this, but it sounds like it's probably been used as a scam before. I could see this being used as a scam. Recover your data, just enter your username and password, and we'll go. Yeah, I don't know that, but I would do a little research before you pay thousands of dollars on this one. Recover your data, $12.75, ending in 3 days. How would you do that research? I won't show you today since we're short on time, but you would go, would do a Google for Wayback Machine, which will bring up archive.org. You can put the domain name in there and see what has been developed on that domain name in the past. And if one of them looks scammy, then you probably want to avoid the domain name. Surprisingly, there's very little searches for it, as well as no money behind it. So I thought it was something, but it's not. Happens all the time. Loan interest calculator. Loan interest calculator. I'm going to skip over that one. That one's a near miss. NFT verify. If NFTs ever come back, way to go check out to make sure an image was, owned by the person that says it was. Sounds like something that could be a pretty good domain. I wonder what that's going for. Out of curiosity more than thinking anybody should mess with it. So NFTverify.com, $12, 6 days left on the auction. If that one flies under the radar, I highly recommend, if you want to mess with tech, go. That one might be a good one. Advertising photography. Develop website up enum domain, so it's probably not going to actually. Let's see if we can get through one page. I'm trying. I did not expect to talk for 35 minutes. Smiling, just looking over domain. I mean, these domains look like crap, actually. Like they look like near miss domain names, right? We're used to that, though. Domains you think are almost good enough to bid on, but not. Now, and the thing is, on all these, you can take it and build whatever you want to build on it. But yeah. Wow. Okay. Look at this vanity domain. I feel like I've said that before. Vanity domain. It's just a vanity domain name. Like, scratch my. Anyhow. Okay. There we go. Look, there's some domain names. Not a whole lot happening out over on the domain land. Let me just read off some of the domain names we looked at. I'm just reading them off versus sharing, but myfinancial.com, $1,600 over on GoDaddy Auctions, ends in 5 days, myfinancial.com. Onlineoffer.com, $611, ends in 5 days as well. Mixed Company, which is just an interesting phrase that we've probably heard before, ends in 6 days also, $255. Recoveryourdata.com. Again, I like my versus you. I didn't mention that when we talked about the domain name, but Recover My Data would be a preferred domain name for that. That one's already near $1,300, ends in 3 days, so that one would be a pass for me by far. NFT Verify sounds like a fun domain name for an NFT project, except for NFTs are so like 3 months ago. Okay. Let me check over on the chat real quick, see a couple that have come in. So yeah, this is, let me mention this real quick. Simply CQ60 is saying, Drew, SpyFu, does SpyFu work showing domain names for hyphenated domain names? My portfolio has many dash domains. Let me give you a warning on this, okay? This is really important to understand. When we set up the filters on expireddomains.net, there is a reason we get rid of hyphens and numbers and special characters, and we only look at .coms. It sounds like if you have a portfolio of hyphenated domains, you're going to run into exactly what I did in the early 2000s, and that is you think you have a valuable domain name because all the data says so, but unfortunately you do not. Let me take you over to SpyFu one more time, because I want to show you this, because this is actually something that could be helpful. So I am over, so for example, over on SpyFu, if you have a domain name, let me try to, the domain name I used to have, Internet Monitoring Software. So as I have possibly mentioned to you in the past, I paid my way through college selling spy software. We call it spy software nowadays, but it was monitoring software. It's all over the place now. It's software that allows you to like monitor your kids' activities online and stuff. So that way you can make sure they're not doing something silly or stupid. We called it spy software internally, but monitoring software is one of the sites that I ran. And if you were to take internet monitoring software and hyphenate it, which was one of the domain names I had, you think you have a good domain name if you remove the hyphens and type it in. It's like, oh, there's 135, but there's not. Like the value of those keywords, it doesn't translate when you put dashes and things in. What we are trying to build here, what we talked about, that shortcut that we're trying to look for with the domain names here, a hyphen gets rid of it. The only very rare exception for a hyphenated domain name would be a domain name like heavy duty, where half the time it's hyphenated, half the time it's not. So some people might try to type in a hyphen because it's a hyphenated word. Well, sometimes it is. So in that case, I could see there being value in a hyphenated domain name because people are associating the hyphen to the actual word. I'm trying to think of another domain name that might be like that. But if the hyphen's not there in real life for a word, that hyphen's garbage. In most cases, those domain names are not worth anything unless you have managed to turn that domain name into, you built the value yourself. So you've done what we talked about, which was you had put information, you had put content on a domain name and built up the value of that domain name. You can do that with any domain name, including a hyphenated domain name. So in that case, you could do it. But if you have hyphenated domain names for the purpose of reselling them to somebody, in most cases, I don't think they are going to be very good. So awesome. Well, there you go. I thank you for all the people that are out there mentioning it. If you are watching, which you may still be watching right now, which I very much appreciate because I do this out of love and the ethical responsibility that I have, and I hope you feel you have too, to let especially small businesses know the domain name they have matters. They need to be able to control it like they would their 401k. They need to know where it is, know how to take control, know how to use it to prevent others from being able to take advantage of the value they've created on their domain name. So yes, go forth, all of us, and make sure that small businesses know that. And now you know it as well. If you like this content, if you love domain names, if you love entrepreneurship, business ideas, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate you watching in this random Baltimore remote live stream, cars beeping in the background. We had ambulances and everything else happening. It's a good time. Okay. So check out the chat one last time. Yes. And Matt is out there reminding people over on YouTube as well. Don't forget to like the video. Yes, please. I don't get paid for this. I work for likes. I work for subscribes. Someday I'll give you the opportunity as my audience, as my market, to support me as I give you great value in something I developed for you. But yeah, there you go. That's a good example. Thank you, Ed, for tossing that in. Harley Davidson has a dash in the brand name. So that's their brand, though, independent of what they've determined or created for them. They wouldn't have a dash. So if it makes sense, then sure. But again, Harley Davidson, separate of the brand, isn't anything. It's somebody's name. Hey, Harley. How you doing, Harley? Mr. Davidson? I don't know. Anyhow. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on domaintoprofit.com and DTP.tv, or over on the YouTube, which if you're there, make sure you like and subscribe. I will see you 3 p.m. Eastern Time as we go back to look through expiring domain names that allow us to skip all the effort of building and defining an audience, have that audience defined so we can build and create the future that we want for ourselves, all thanks to domain names. I will see you next week. Take care.